Hi. I'm coming off the timeline.
All right. Let me pass you through to our soundboard here.
Okay, thank you.
In an announcement Wednesday, regulators with the Justice Department and the Federal Trade Commission said Twitter failed to protect users over a 6-year span. They say Twitter violated an FTC order issued in 2011.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
They failed to
Do we have the pastor up?
contact information.
Not yet.
Okay.
I was trying to work on that.
Here, I'm giving you a million things at one time. I'm sorry.
So that clip, first I had a little bit of an issue getting it recorded, but then once I did, there was actually quite a bit of swearing in it. So.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, then we won't do that.
I could work on it a little later and see if I could edit some of that out.
Okay. Well, I wish I had, if you can, I wish I had given it to you earlier. I'm so sorry. I just thought about it just now.
No, it's no worries. No worries at all.
Okay. So thank you.
But I'm going to get Pastor Brooks up.
Okay, very good. So we can get on up and then we will get on with the show. Hey, everybody. Hey, Francis. Linda. Hey, Andre. Philip. A lot to talk about today.
Traffic is slow Boston today, going down 27 minutes from downtown Chicago to O'Hare. Inbound, more routine 18 minutes. The hours an hour still looks pretty good. 25 minutes at 390 downtown traffic. A little bit stuffy east of Manheim. Northbound on 55, traffic is slow. 129 North River Road. And then farther north from Harlem to Kennedy, there's a crash reported at Cicero. 30 minutes from the Veterans Memorial to South Lake Shore Drive.
Okay.
You got a line at 63rd. There's a crash on the
We got a lot to talk about. We're still talking about
17 minutes from 95th Street to downtown.
oh,
Traffic fine.
hey, how's everybody today? Okay.
About a minute here.
Okay, very good. Pastor Brooks?
Hi, I'm Roy Spencer with Pharmacy. I'm happy to say that we can now help make your basement
Pastor Brooks?
upstairs more comfortable with our new product, Thermofoam.
Okay, I can't hear him now. Pastor Brooks? Good morning, good morning, good morning. How you doing? Now, you know what? I need you to go right to it, okay? And go right to how people can get to your church, the address. Say that a couple of times so that people can come and get food, okay? Because I know that people are listening. Okay. Thank you, sweetie. How Deborah and Dasha, how are they? Give them my love. Give them my love. And get right. I guess I'll get right to it. All right, sweetie. Thank you. Love you, Darius. You know, and I'm going to call you later because I have a question for you.
Change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate, Lord, hate the Lord, all the time to wait. Gotta save children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It's Thursday, May 27, 2022. I'm coming to you from WCPT, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I'm Santita Jackson. It's a joy to be with you today, and I want you to call me. Let's talk about what's happening down in Uvalde, Texas, and what's happening still in Buffalo, New York. 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. I want you to meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page and over on YouTube. Facebook told us we need to get on over to YouTube. So all of you, please migrate over there to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Linda, Andre, Philip, how you doing? And Francis, hey, everybody. How you doing today? Louis Chewy, Joyce, sending you all much love. Mark from D.C., Philip from Pennsylvania, and on. Paula from here, sending you much love. That's right, telling us Say hello, family. Buongiorno to you too, my sweet. How you doing, everybody? Let's talk about what's happening. Why did it take so long for the police to go into the Robb Elementary School? In fact, parents and onlookers were urging them to go in, and they did not do that. What happened there? Now, lawsuits are being ready to be filed in Buffalo. Of course, we're going to ask Attorney C.K. Hoffler about that. We're going to have also Texas Harris County Commissioner Rodney Ellis, who's going to be with us just for a few minutes to let us know about how things are going down there. And did you check out Beto O'Rourke interrupting the press conference of the governor yesterday? Wow. I was trying to play it for you, but there were so many expletives, so much cursing, which did not come from Beto O'Rourke. It came from the men on the stage. Unbelievable. Wow, calling him classless and SOB and on and on. It was so vulgar and aggressive and mean. And we wonder why we are where we are. Think about that, everybody. Call me, text me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. And of course, we're going to be talking about this program that I just think is so wonderful that will enable you to get caught up on your housing bills, the Illinois Home Owner Assistance Fund. The program ends on May 31st, and I'm very keen on you having access to $30,000 of money you would not have to repay. $30,000. And all you have to do is get in touch with them. And we're going to have Athena, Miss Athena Williams, who's the executive director of the Oak Park Regional Housing Center, who's going to help you to access this money, everybody. Access this money. Everybody like and share. Andre and Philip and Francis and D-Ray. Everybody like and share. Mark, Paula, like and share this show. Like and subscribe on my YouTube channel. And let's continue to spread the word about this show. Keep bumping into people who are not watching here, but who say they listen. And it's really gratifying. I said, wow, you just never know how many people are listening and paying attention. Everybody in Chicago, we're going to have thunderstorms today, but it's going to be a beautiful day, 72 degrees. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 63 degrees, cloudy. The Dow closed up 191 points yesterday. The NASDAQ closed up 170 points. And the S&P 500 closed up 37 points. In the NBA playoffs, we're getting closer and closer to the championship, everybody. The Celtics are leading in their series 3-2. And last night they won 93-80 over the Heat. And the Mavs will be playing the Warriors, who lead in their series tonight 3-1. Will the Warriors close it out? What do you think, everybody? In the Stanley Cup playoffs. Wow. It's so exciting this time of year because all of these sports are playing. The Blues 5, the Avalanche 4. We're just going to see how that all turns out. They are, the Avalanche, they could, somebody's going to get eliminated. Right, tonight the Rangers will be playing the Hurricanes. They're tied up in their series. And Edmonton leads in their series. The Oilers versus the Flames will be playing tonight. Just in case you were wondering, do you know how much Ukraine is costing Americans? $100 million every single day. Wow. Think about that, everybody. $100 million per day. In the meantime, Russia is, according to this CNN report, is trying to blackmail the international community with an offer to unblock Ukrainian ports if sanctions against it are lessened. Ukraine's foreign minister said yesterday, he warned that if Moscow does not lift its blockage of Ukrainian exports of crops, the entire agricultural cycle will be interrupted and could spur a multi-year food crisis. Well, this is what happens in war, everybody. That's why we need to have peace. Where are the peace talks, everybody? In the meantime, Henry Kissinger has warned of a deadline for the Ukraine peace settlement. Everybody, many of the world leaders, the establishment, if you will, are meeting in Davos. And he says there's a small window of opportunity to wind down the armed conflict in Ukraine and find a peace settlement. And so he told the gathering of these elites in Davos, Switzerland. Beyond that, he said Russia may break from the rest of Europe for good and become a permanent ally of China, which he said is not a good idea. It's not in the interest of the West. What do you think about that, everybody? What do you think about that? So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it because we're watching the world continue to shift underneath our feet. In the meantime, former President Donald Trump reacted with approval to chants of "Hang Mike Pence," everybody, from rioters who stormed the Capitol on January 6, according to a former aide. Now, wow. So what do you think about that? In the meantime, Mike Pence is campaigning against President Trump's candidate. At least he did in this particular cycle. So we will see, everybody, how all this pans out. In the meantime, we're going to get some good news from Pastor Darius Brooks, who is feeding people, feeding people. He doesn't just feed us musically and spiritually, he actually physically feeds us. Indeed, Pastor Darius Brooks has said, I've seen people in luxury cars. I've seen well-dressed people who come by the church so they can get something to eat. Wow. Indeed, Pastor Brooks, you would be interested in knowing this. 2 out of 3 Americans are struggling financially, but they are embarrassed, too embarrassed to tell their friends about it. Don't be that embarrassed. Honey, everybody has been where you have been before. Everybody. It just, and if you can be up one day, down the next. My pastor's wife, Mrs. Luther May Evans, used to say, you know where you've been, Pastor Brooks, but you do not know where you're going. So don't get too high, everybody. Don't get too high. You know where you've been, you don't know where you're going. My father was in a food line trying to feed us, praise the Lord. And I'm glad he was not too proud to do it. When his scholarship money ran out when he was at the University of Chicago, you know, they fund you for a semester. And things happen. Things happen. You just got to keep on pushing, but don't be embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed. Pastor Darius Brooks, what's the good news today? And first of all, how can we get food from you? We need to know how we can get food from you.
Grace Central Church, 10216 South Kitchener Street, Westchester, Illinois. It's right off of 290 in Manhattan. We're serving 200 to 600 families every Tuesday from 5 till 7, and on Wednesdays for seniors.
Hold on one moment, Pastor Brooks. Pastor Brooks, you're not as clear as we need you to be. So I need you to be a little louder, and I need your connection to be a little clearer. Okay, let's start again.
Okay. Is that better?
That's better.
Hello?
That's much better.
All right. Grace Central Church, 1026 Kitchener Street, Westchester, Illinois. We serve between 5 and 7 every Tuesday from 5 till 7, between 200 and 600 families. And on Wednesdays from noon till 2, we service the seniors because we don't want them out in the evening on Tuesday. So every Tuesday and every Wednesday, you all come on out, and everything is in here: steaks, chicken, eggs, butter, produce. Everything you need is in this packet. Every week, 10216 South Kitchener Street. Go to gracecentral.net, gracecentral.net. Look up Darius Brooks. All this information is right there. We are literally, wonderfully, and passionately desiring and serving the community that people may have food in this season and time of need. Okay.
Amen. 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 That's right. I got you. So let's get the good news.
Okay, good news. Santita, when it comes to critical thinking, one needs a source to go to. And if I use my thought today, I'd use challenge God's word. And I want to come from a passage of scripture that at the end of the day, it's hindsight, it's foresight, it's insight, and it's eyesight. And it's the 23rd Psalm, Santita. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Santita, the word of God is a mirror. As an individual, once it becomes a mirror, people think a mirror is something that's a reflection. It's not. A mirror is something, Santita, that shows you what you want to look like or what you should look like. When you go to a beauty salon at a barbershop, when you get out of that chair, you look at the mirror, you say, that's what I'm talking about. You already know what you look like before you go into a beauty. But the word of God is a mirror. It's designed to share with you what should be happening feeling of what will be happening when you look at it from a personal perspective. When he's your shepherd, he really is over the things you need. When he's your shepherd, you really don't want anything because you go to his word to make sure everything that's in there is for your leading and guidance. That's why he leads me besides still waters. Still waters run deep, Santita. They don't move. That means you better be careful when you're going there because you're going down if you don't know what you're doing. He restores my soul. Whenever we're weary, he restores our soul. And he leads us in maturity. That's what righteousness is. It's maturity. And it's for his name's sake because his name can't fail. And then, yea, though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, it's not death. It's things that makes us want to give up. Don't fear no evil, for the word of God is with us. And the rod and staff is the thing that guides us when we get off course. They comfort me. And he prepares a table before us in the presence of our enemies, which means he gives us food to show us he's going to get us through this. And then the cup runneth over is information in our thoughts. And then he promises at the end of the day, don't you worry, this surely goodness of mercy, which is forgiveness, shall follow me and be with me all the days of my life. And I will dwell in this place forever. Santita, if I had to use my thought this morning, challenge God's word because he is a promise keeper. In there is insight, eyesight, foresight, and hindsight.
Amen to that. Love Pastor Darius Brooks. Pastor Darius Brooks, he will be joining us he and the Tommies, that's right, the Tommies, will be joining us at the Rainbow Push International Conference, June 18th through the 22nd. Everybody go on and get registered. It's free. The conference is free. The meal events you have to pay for, but everything else is free. So please go on, and we're going to be at the South Shore Cultural Center. It is going to be a marvelous, marvelous, marvelous time. And I hope that you are registered to vote or getting registered to vote. Hope you'll check to make sure that you have not been purged from the voter rolls. Go to vote.org because in Illinois, we have our primaries coming up on June 28th. I think you know how I'm going to vote. Oh, love it. Love you, Pastor Brooks. Let me go on to Dr. Shanita Knighton. Dr. Shanita Knighton, infection preventionist, research clinical scholar, Case Western Reserve University. She teaches at the university. She is a registered nurse, someone who's preeminently qualified to weigh in on our health issues, and we're so blessed to have her every day here on the Santita Jackson Show. COVID is still with us. We're done with COVID, but COVID is not done with us, as they say. Dr. Knighton. And I came across a very interesting story, about long COVID. First of all, I'd like for you to define what long COVID is. And I just came across an NBC story that said that vaccines offer little protection against long COVID, according to this study. But first of all, what is long COVID? Does it keep you in the bed? Does it mean that you lose your sense of taste and smell for a prolonged period of time? I mean, what is long COVID?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Long COVID is having lingering symptoms and side effects of COVID that last longer than the period of being sick. So, for example, if the average time frame to be sick from COVID, let's say, is 21 days, but you're having symptoms 3 months, 6 months, a year later, and some people even 2 years later, then that's what's considered to be long-term effects that are associated with COVID. And unfortunately, some of those long-term effects, someone may be able to decrease the symptoms or the severity of the symptoms that is associated with long COVID, but it does not necessarily mean that they can eliminate them as being a result or being associated with the disease. That's why I was telling people early on that there's so much that we still don't understand, and I've been saying this since 2020. I'm like, there's so much about it that we still don't understand, that for people that they think, like, oh, well, I was asymptomatic, I just got an itchy throat, or I didn't have any symptoms, but my taste and smell was gone, or, I just had this buzzing in my ear or this ringing in my ears that wouldn't stop. People minimize the symptoms when they first happen because they weren't full-blown hospitalized or sick. But after a while, when you are living with not being able to taste, not being able to smell, some people losing their appetite, when you are dealing with those symptoms over a long period of time, then they tend to diminish your quality of life, making things uncomfortable, making things not as friendly, because your life currently in that state after long COVID is not reflective of what your quality of life was before COVID, and it's now having to deal and live with these now existing symptoms. And this is the case even too for some of the younger adults, whereas they may have not gotten bad symptoms from COVID, but they may, let's say, have received clots. And those clots may have ended up turning into them having occlusions, meaning that they have blockage in their extremities, or it may have ended up being a stroke, for someone in their 30s, or being on blood thinners for the rest of your life. And so you look at the things that it's done, and you say to yourself, okay, the goal would be to prevent it, not necessarily be to suppress it, not necessarily be to not deal with it, but for me, the ultimate goal was, how do I prevent getting COVID? Not how do I prevent getting a mild symptom of it, but how do we prevent getting it all together? And I think that's why there's been such an emphasis of mine on preventative practices.
Everybody, let's talk about that. I mean, do you have long COVID? Do you know someone who has long COVID? Do you have it? And what does that mean? How is it impacting your quality of life? And is there anything that you can do to mitigate long COVID? Dr. Knighton, I mean, is there anything you can do? Is there anything you can do? Are there any medicines that you can take? Or if you have long COVID, you just got it?
So long COVID looks different for a lot of people. It does. I think the main thing is and when I'm saying it looks different, so Santita, your long COVID could be that you have shortness of breath, meaning that your energy, that you might have been an athlete before or somebody that worked out on a regular basis, but now since long COVID happened, you're no longer working out at the rate that you were before. Or when you realize that you go to run, you're getting much more winded and you're only able to make it a quarter of the way, whereas before you might have been able to go, let's say, 2 miles, but now you're only able to go, let's say, a half a mile, and you don't understand why, right? Or, so I'm just kind of, or a half a mile. So I'm just kind of throwing stuff out there, just to kind of help you to understand how it goes. So the only way, it's not really treating it, you manage it. And so in order for you to manage it, you have to pace yourself and think about what you're doing to not overexert yourself, because a lot of times your mind may tell you that you can do it, but your body may be telling you that you need to not do it and that you'll need to do things like in smaller chunks. And so that's something, that does come up. So the lung capacity issue is the real thing, believe it or not. People having a long-term cough is another situation that does happen, where they have like this chronic cough that just won't go away for over time. And, the thing is you'll be able to use, let's say, certain medicines and lozenges to be able to soothe your throat, because sometimes that cough reflex can make your throat very sore. But there isn't really anything, that can actually cause that to just go away. Some of these things, you have physicians that are just waiting on them to resolve. And so you have to do adequate sleep and exercise with hopes that it is just going to help you out. But I think the most important thing is making sure that if you don't have a primary or have access to insurance to get a primary, that you're utilizing, let's say, clinics and healthcare providers to establish some ongoing relationships, so that way as your symptoms change, as things look different for you, that you at least have someone you're communicating with to go through that journey with you. Because sometimes it's the fear of the unknown that tends to stress us out, lower our immune systems, and cause us to have some of the worst outcomes.
these last couple of minutes before we go, actually about a minute and a half, we're coming into summer. Memorial Day weekend is upon us. The weather has broken, it appears. It's warmer. What do you want us to do this weekend? I know you're like, oh, I'm saying this all the time, but the reminders mean so much, Dr. Knighton.
So I think first and foremost, it's going to come down to our behavior. And right now, we know that things are on the upswing in terms of people being infected. People are saying, "Oh, well, yeah, they're infected, but but they don't have symptoms." Well, now that we're discussing long COVID, and we know that long COVID has existed, you have to understand that you may or may not be one of those people that are asymptomatic. And even if you are asymptomatic, it still doesn't mean that you won't have issues with long COVID. And that's even what this study shows us, is that, yes, it may prevent hospitalizations and deaths, but what about those other side effects that may show up later on because they're a part of your system? So I would recommend to people to make sure that you are cleaning your hands. Stop assuming that because you're vaccinated that you're automatically going to get a mild illness, because you really don't know, and a lot of people aren't aware of their other health conditions. So I'm going to say that first and foremost is to function still as if we're in a pandemic. Clean your hands as if that is your first defense mechanism and your last defense mechanism, because that's what's going to protect you more so than anything. I also tell people to make sure that they are staying outside and socializing outside as much as possible. If you are sharing commonalities such as spoons, such as tables, continue to wipe those surfaces down. Continue to be conscious about hollering and screaming in each other's faces, because, again, that's the exchange of droplets that happens. So just, think about some of those things. I could go on and on, but Santita, I think just starting there and just being aware that none of us are exempt is the most important thing to take into account, and basic prevention practices.
Starting with the awareness is going to make you much more conscientious, and you'll really be able to enjoy your weekend because you'll be able to preserve your health. We love you, Dr. Shanina Knighton. At Hey Dr. Nina. At Hey Dr. Nina, everybody. At Hey Dr. Nina. That is her handle in social media. Join her because she reminds you every day a lot of little things that you're not thinking about. We're coming up. We're going to be talking about saving your home here in the state of Illinois. The Illinois Homeowner Assistance Fund is offering up to $30,000 of free money if you fell behind COVID-19. Back in a minute. Dr. Knighton, thank you so much, girl. You surprised me yesterday when you stayed on. Love it.
That topic really bothered me. It really did, because I'm disturbed just by the fact that people don't think about the double whammy of Black kids. Or even like the Taiwanese kids, or I ain't gonna say Taiwanese people, but the Taiwanese population. When it came down over there too. And I'm bringing that up just to say the traumas already that are experienced. Like literally, these kids have found out about the Buffalo shooting. They know that somebody was targeted just for being Black, and then you also got the school shooting that happened. And so the fact that the support services, the empathy, that we offer in regard to the shooting at the school, these are the times where we talk about where equity should be kicking in at. And it's like, oh, well, wow, if the average kid feels like that, how does the Black children feel knowing that within 2 weeks, right, they've had instances of violence that's been committed against masses of people, and both situations impact them. And so the fact that, honestly, I would say the lack of equity or attention given to both situations is what's concerning. And like I said, the words alleged, accused, building a case against, when you see those words, you know, for the actual shooter in Buffalo, when there's video of what he's done, opposed to this kid that did the actual shooting in Texas, you look to yourself and you say, well, why is there such a bias in us even in how they even name the killer? One is named the killer and one is named the accused. And the only difference is skin color.
Mm-hmm.
So it's frustrating. How do you explain that?
Absolutely.
Okay, Miss Williams on the line and ready to go.
And we have Ms. Williams. Did you get Chaparral?
I will do that right now.
Okay, thank you, hon. Thank you. Ms. Williams?
Good morning.
Hi, how are you? It's wonderful meeting you. I'm so glad that you're joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm pleased and excited to meet with you and talk with you this morning.
Absolutely. We'll be up in about a minute, but this is great. Very, very excited. I think you've got a fantastic program. I still have someone on who's with us every day. She's an infection preventionist. She teaches at Case Western Reserve University, and she is a research clinical scholar there. Registered nurse, brilliant. Dr. Shanina Knighton. And she is in Cleveland, obviously. And everybody's looking for trying to get some money, Ms. Williams. Everybody. Now, is it Ms. or Mrs. Williams? Yes, ma'am.
I'm a widow, so.
Oh, bless your heart.
It's Liz. Yeah, my husband passed away. But.
Well,
Okay, we have Mrs. Wells ready.
I'll give you that handle. I mean, you earned it. God bless you. God bless you.
And we're under a minute. We've got about 35 seconds.
Fantastic. Here we are. We're coming up. Stand by.
Cleveland?
Dr. Knighton?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, she was asking you if you're in Cleveland.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that. Yes, I'm in Cleveland.
Okay, stand by, everybody. We're about to come on up.
Okay.
And that was Mrs. Athena Williams. So glad that she's with us today.
10 seconds. And Mrs. Wells is ready.
Okay, fantastic.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show, WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. That is my official page, everybody. You can become my friend there. No place else. That's where you need to go. And the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Please meet my family over there. They're over there today. In fact, I'm so glad that you're with us. We're talking about saving our homes. We're going to be talking about Texas and these elections, these primaries day before yesterday. So much to discuss. But before we get into this discussion we're going to have with Mrs. Athena Williams of the Illinois Homeowner Assistance. Well, she's going to talk to us about this Homeowner Assistance Fund. And of course, she is the Oak Park Regional Housing Center Executive Director. Let me go to you, Chaparral Wells. Chaparral Wells, celebrations by us. I've already put in my order for the weekend because I want my beans and my baked chicken. I can't wait. And whatever else you can spare, of course. But everyone is ordering from you, not just for the holiday weekend, but also for proms and your weddings. Your daughter gets married next week. Oh my goodness. You've got a lot going on with celebrations by us.
Yes, we are very busy, thanks to God, Santita. I will say that we are winding down on our prom season. We have our final prom set up this Saturday, as well as also we're doing graduation and trunk party. So don't hesitate to give us a call at 708-526-4546. 708-526-4546. We do handle wedding decor as well as also full table setting and meals, so don't hesitate to call us for all of your catering and decor needs. So please give us a call at 708-526-4546. 708-526-4546. Thank you so much, Santita.
Well, you know what? Stay right here, Chaparral, because I know you wanted to hear about this tremendous program that has got me very, very excited. It's the Illinois Homeowner Assistance Fund. They are offering up to $30,000 of money that is free to pay your past due mortgages, property tax payments, and other housing costs. People really fell behind during COVID-19, and it's no wonder. I mean, we were shut down. But if you go to IllinoisHousingHelp.org, you can find out if you're eligible for this program if you call the office of the Oak Park Regional Housing Center at 773-887-5187. You can find out if you're eligible for this program. And so we're very honored to have Mrs. Athena Williams. She's the executive director of the Oak Park Regional Housing Center. She's been so busy, and I've been trying to get her on because it's been very, very exciting to hear about this program. Mrs. Athena Williams, hats off to you at the Oak Park Regional Housing Center. And tell us about this program, because we've had Maria Pappas on. She tries to find people who've fallen into arrears because of property tax payments. And she says, many of us just have money that's just sitting there. And when I see this program, it's like money that's just sitting there that we don't even know that we might have access to help save our homes. Talk to us about this program, Mrs. Athena Williams.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me this morning. So this program is a program that is initiated through IDA. IDA is the Illinois Housing Development Authority. And basically, these are funds that have come down through the federal government. And what IDA does, IDA reaches out to partner agencies throughout the community to make sure that we can then reach out to those homeowners to make sure those homeowners who are having difficulties or homeowners who have, have been struggling with costs or struggling with keeping up their payments particularly during COVID, that they know that there's assistance available for them. Mm-hmm. And so what we do at Oak Park Regional Housing Center, we do a lot of outreach. We reach out to all of the homeowners in our footprint. Our footprint serves the Austin community of the city of Chicago. We also provide services in Cicero, Berwyn. It provides a township, of course, Oak Park and River Forest. We reach out to these homeowners if they are in foreclosure, if they are behind in their property taxes. We actually take them through a quick eligibility test to make sure that they're eligible. And then if they're not eligible for these funds, we try to work with them with their mortgage companies or work with them where they are to see if there's another way we can help them either with a loan modification or see if they're eligible to even go for a refinance product. And those are the services that we provide. Those services are free, and we provide those services on a daily basis. But this Homeowners Assistance Fund is a very short window. The last date is, and don't quote me, Ms. Jackson, because, I have a team of staff out there doing this work, but the last day, if I'm not mistaken, is this Friday.
Well, it said May 31st, and the information you gave me said May 31st, which is why I've been so desperate about reaching you, because, first of all, you're running the program, and you're trying to find people. You can't, that's what you have staff for, Mrs. Athena Williams, because you're not supposed to know everything. Everybody else is supposed to know everything. You know generally what's going on. Yes, ma'am.
That are wonderful, doing so much great work. As a matter of fact, today they will be at the Sheet Metal Workers Local Hall at 4550 Roosevelt Road in Hillside from noon to 6. Today only from noon to 6 at the Sheet Metal Workers Local 73 at 4550 Roosevelt Road in Hillside, taking walk-in applications. So anyone that has not been aware of this program, they are free to walk in, and actually anyone from the state of Illinois can come. However, we do have a certain footprint that we serve.
So I need you to tell us about this event that you're having today. What is this event? First of all, where is it? What time is it? And what is the event? I heard you talk about applications, which I had not heard about before. This is Athena Williams.
So this event, we're calling it a foreclosure prevention assistance event. is being held at the Sheet Metal Workers Local 73 Union Hall at 4550 Roosevelt Road in Hillside, Illinois. The time will be from noon to 6 p.m. And the goal of this event is any homeowner who is struggling with their mortgage payments, any homeowner who is behind on their property taxes, any homeowners who have questions about their property tax exemption, they can come to this event. Our staff will walk them through the eligibility application process to find out if they're eligible for the Illinois Homeowner Assistance Funds, or if they might need help in some of the areas so that they can stay in their home.
Well, that's exciting. That's exciting news. We're talking with Mrs. Athena Williams. She's the executive director of the Oak Park Regional Housing Center. Oak Park Regional Housing Center. And they are having an event today in which you can save your home from foreclosure. And even if you're not eligible for this program, the Illinois Homeowner Assistance Fund program, her office is going to help you find a way to save your home. So you interact with these lending companies, with the banks, is that it, Mrs. Williams?
Yes. We work with almost 15 different banks closely. We work with 2 to 4 different servicers closely, and that gives us the ability, because, see, Mrs. Jackson, the first thing I want to say that I should have said in the beginning is that we are a HUD-approved agency.
Okay.
And as a HUD-approved agency, we're able to work closely with our third-party partners. And of course, there's a lot of paperwork involved. I will say that there's a lot of paperwork involved. And there's things that my staff have to do. So my staff, they're trained to work through the client's mortgage documents. They're trained to understand the financing end of what our clients are dealing with. And then our staff actually work with the lenders to come up with a plan for the homeowners so people can stay in their homes.
Well, will they have to bring those documents with them today? I mean, what do they just bring their bodies? Do they bring ID? What should they bring to this event today? And again, the address and the time.
Yes. So they should bring their ID. They should bring their mortgage statement. They should bring their property tax bill. Those are the 3 main documents that they should have today. And of course, if they don't have that, if they just come in with their ID, our staff, I have to give credit to my staff, Mrs. Jackson. They are so wonderful. They really work well and work closely with all of their clients. Some people say, your staff is they're just holding people's hands. But you know something, Mrs. Jackson? Sometimes people need their hands held to get through the process that they're going through.
Absolutely.
You know? So,
well, you know what? Because this is a frightening process. It's an intimidating process. The thought of losing your home, the thought of becoming homeless, it's scary. And it's a very real thing. A lot of people, we just had Pastor Darius Brooks from Grace Central Church, the iconic Pastor Darius Brooks. He and their church are feeding hundreds of people a week. And he said, you don't know, I'm getting people in Mercedes Benzes and Lexus cars, people who are very well dressed, who are coming here to get something to eat, who are coming here to get groceries. People are struggling out here, Mrs. Athena Williams.
Yes, they are. And I have to tell you that it's difficult. People are embarrassed. And so, Mrs. Jackson, I'm going to share this with you. My husband passed away almost 23 years ago. We own a number of properties, and I couldn't figure out what to do. The reason I'm doing this work today, Mrs. Jackson, is because I had to find out for myself. And when I learned about what a HUD agency could do, when I learned about the help that was out there, I made it my mission to make sure that other people who look like me, other people who live in the communities that I live in, had access to these resources.
You know what? Let me bring on, I think, Chappelle Wells. You're still with us today? I know you wanted to stay because I know you wanted to speak with, you're speaking on behalf of a lot of people. I've gotten a lot of messages as I've been doing this read over the past week and a half, 2 weeks. Why don't you speak, Mrs. Williams? This is Mrs. Wells. She was just the she caters beautifully and can cook like your grandmama used to cook. And she said, when she heard that you were going to be on today, she said, oh, along with several other people, I've got to speak with her. Chapearl.
Thank you so much, Santita. And my biggest question, Ms. Williams, is for elderly people. Like my mom, she has a property and it's currently on a reverse mortgage. But just like, COVID raised the prices on everything, we saw an increase in her property taxes now. So with her property taxes, they went up, and that is what's delinquent. She's not delinquent because she has a reverse mortgage, but her property taxes is because it's escrow, it's in arrears, if that makes sense. And so I'm trying to see if she qualifies for that particular program because technically, the reverse mortgage company pays the taxes, the extra tax money, but it shows that she is now delinquent, which means that my mom has to pay the taxes to the reverse mortgage.
So that is interesting. Now, reverse mortgage is a different situation, and again, we have one staff person that works with reverse mortgages because that's a specific area. But I will say this. Exactly what you said, that company that picked up the reverse mortgage should have been also taking care of the taxes. However, there is a question of the tax exemption. So I would encourage you or your mother, to go to the event today. If not, just call the office, 773-887-5187, or you can get an email to info@westcookhomeownership.org, and someone will respond to your question. So that's a very specific topic, and there's a lot of different little things that go with reverse mortgages. Some other questions that the staff person that handles that would have to answer for you.
Okay. And also, like I said, even my own property taxes went up by $6,600. Thank God right now, I'm struggling to pay the extra $900 in mortgage fee, but it really is, a burden to have all of this. But because, again, my taxes are escrow, it's paid. But I have, now my mortgage is a lot higher because of the increase in taxes. So I'm not showing any delinquency. So I'm trying to see if there's any relief for these property taxes.
So let me ask you.
I'd like to go back to my regular payment.
Well, did you file for all of your exemptions for your property taxes?
I believe I did. When I called I stay in Cicero, by the way, and so when I called the town of Cicero, he said that I can't apply again until August, I believe.
So you did apply before. So the question would be, one, had you applied? Well, if you applied once, you don't have to reapply again. So it may be a situation where you never applied. Now, if you had not applied, and if you apply in August, then you will get a refund, okay? But you have to make sure that you did that first exemption. And then a couple other things about your property taxes. First of all, everyone's property taxes are on increase across the board. And then you have to also make sure that you get those taxes assessed. So there's a couple of processes in there. And I just want to say that another thing that we do, Mrs. Wells, we have community housing fairs where we actually have a tax assessor's office come out on site to do events. And we're actually working with them right now to come out on site to do an event just to talk about property tax. So if you call...
Yes, we need that because it's like they think I live in Oak Park. And I'm paying Oak Park rate for Cicero. And I'm paying like $10,000 a year in property taxes. And it's crazy. But I've never seen this in my whole life.
So again, it could be that your tax exemptions need to be filed correctly. Once you file your tax exemptions, there's an opportunity to get a refund. But we will have a tax event boom. So please call our office, 773-887-5187, to speak with the program director regarding your mom's reverse mortgage, as well as to get your name on our list for our upcoming outreach event.
Okay, and last question. So because I'm only calling about, so I wouldn't qualify for that $30,000 there, right?
For just the property taxes, so the property tax situation with the Illinois Housing Fund is if your mortgage is, if your home is paid off, but you're just paying property tax. So that's the difference in those two scenarios.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Please call our office as well because I would love to learn more about your catering business.
Hey.
I certainly will. Thank you so much.
She's got some of the best food in the world. My family, the holidays, she fixes dishes for us, and she just is great. I mean, it's really, really, really great. But she's emblematic of so many people, and I think that's why she had question after question after question, because they became a group and they just started talking about the things that are bedeviling them. Like I said, Maria Pappas comes on the show. She was my first sponsor, actually, to talk about property taxes. My parents didn't realize they were not taking, for example, the exemptions that are available to senior citizens. Maybe because they don't move like senior citizens, but they are, and they missed thousands of dollars, but they were able to recover them because of offices, because of workstations that she set up in churches and at Rainbow Push and places all around the city. And so that's why I'm very keen on people finding out about this seminar that you're having today, and having people call you at 773-887-5187. 773-887-5187. Because what you're essentially telling us, Mrs. Athena Williams, who does such great work as the executive director of the Oak Park Regional Housing Center, is that there is help for us, that you don't have to lose your home. You could be in foreclosure right now. Are you saying this? If you're in foreclosure right now, is it too late for you?
No, not at all. There are many things that can be done. I have quite a few stories. So I've actually been working with the Oak Park Regional Housing Center in multiple capacities since about 2015. And as far as the home ownership program, we've actually been helping a lot of people, Mrs. Jackson. We have one man who we've been working with for at least 2 years, who had went into foreclosure just before COVID hit. And he's still in his home, and we're still working with him through his mortgage company, because there's a lot of steps involved. And again, all of our services are free. So as long as someone works with our agency before they go to an attorney's office, we're able to work directly with the mortgage companies, the servicers, to try to come up with a plan that best fits the homeowner's current situation.
Everybody. There is no reason for you to lose your home, everybody. There is $30,000, up to $30,000 out here. Free money. What does free money mean? I mean, you got to pass due mortgage, property tax payments, other housing costs. People fell behind because of COVID-19. Is this a loan, or is this a grant? Do you have to fill out papers on this? Are you going to be taxed on this money? Help us to understand that.
So it is payment that's made directly to the mortgage company, because again, our counselors, our staff, they work with the homeowner, and they work with the mortgage company, and they work with IDA to get the application in, and then IDA makes the payment directly to the mortgage company. Mm-hmm. Now, unfortunately, I will have to get you more information about whether that amount of money is taxed. I do not believe it is. Okay. But Mr. Jackson, I will have that information for you for your next show. I don't want to misquote anything or mislead anyone, but I will get you the correct information about that. But that payment is made directly to the mortgage company. Okay. To offset any cost that the homeowner may be behind in. And again, if the homeowner is not eligible for this program, we work with that mortgage company to try to do other things, create other scenarios, such as maybe a loan modification, or if the client may need to refinance. We try to figure out how to help the client to refinance. There are a multitude of lenders out here waiting to help and work with individuals so that people can stay in their homes.
This is great news. Again, where is this event today? And so that we can see you. Of course, you can always call 773-887-5187, 773-887-5187. But if you're in foreclosure, if you're on the verge of foreclosure, if you've fallen behind in your housing payments, property taxes, housing costs, past due mortgage, there is help for you. And there is a seminar today, Mrs. Athena Williams, and the Oak Park Regional Housing Center will be meeting you today. Where can they meet you? And my goodness, this is such great news. And she will be back with us on Tuesday, or someone you designate, so that we can, because the program closes down on the 31st. Where should we meet you today?
Yes, today at 12 p.m. until 6 p.m. we'll be seeing people walking in. They can walk in, just walk in and speak with our counselors and our staff at 4550 Roosevelt Road in Hillside, Illinois. And that location is actually called the Sheet Metal Workers Local 73 Union Hall. Again, that's at 4550 Roosevelt Road, Hillside, Illinois, today from noon to 6. And again, I want people to understand our services are free. I have to emphasize that this is a free service, Ms. Jackson, that a lot of people are not aware of. And when I learned about it, when I was going through, my time some years ago, I made it my personal mission that other people will understand that these resources are out here.
Amen to that. Everybody, Mrs. Athena Williams, Executive Director, doing God's work, Oak Park Regional Housing Center. Maybe I'm sensitive to it, because I have to tell you, the night my father spoke at the Democratic Convention in 1984, it was my birthday, Mrs. Williams. And what hit me as my father was walking to the microphone was this. That night, on the night I was born, my parents didn't have a home. We were living with the Halseys. I'm very sensitive to people who are struggling, because I was born when my parents were struggling. Did I feel it? No, because I felt the love. That's all you want from your parents. But standing in a food line, the Jacksons have done that. Having been homeless, the Jacksons have been that. We've been all of those things. And it makes me want everyone to have all that you can have, all of the abundance that God has promised to you. You don't have to lose your home, everybody. You don't. Call the Oak Park Regional Housing. Call them today, Housing Center. Call them at 773-887-5187 and go to 4550 Roosevelt Road at 12 o'clock. Meet them there. Can't wait to talk with you. God bless you. Back in just a minute. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to have you back.
Well, you know what, Ms. Jackson, two things before I hang up the phone. I know you have to hurry up and go.
Yes, ma'am.
One, I do want to do a sponsorship because we have so many events throughout the year, and because you have so many listeners, I think it'll benefit them to know when we have upcoming events and workshops. So I need to, I don't know if I talk to you or Melissa.
No, anything, because I'm gonna tell you, I think I've gone on past what we were supposed to be obligated to do, because my thing is, I feel like I'm performing a public service, and I appreciate that, because it helps to keep me on the air, and I really do. And you can speak to Melissa about it, and let's work that out. But just know that you will always have space on my show, as long as you do this work. As long as you do this work, you will always have space with me, always.
Wonderful.
And maybe that's not the best business practice. I think Melissa will go, oh no, because we do have to stay on the air. But I just think it's so important. And like I said, when I saw my father walk to the microphone, I said, wow, whew, on this night, when I was born, my parents were living with the Halseys. Oh boy. I mean, I just had to do a praise dance. I said, look at what God can do. Look at what God can do.
Let's talk about what God can do. So my second thing,
Mm-hmm.
I want to give a shout out to your dad
Oh.
because Rainbow Push helped me with my daughter. My daughter was a Jesse Jackson Toyota
Scholar.
at Toyota,
Yes.
Toyota.
Yes.
And she just graduated with her master's degree, and she's now working for the Lexus division headquarters in Dallas, Texas of Toyota.
Bless
Now,
her
she does
heart.
answer them, and we went through the entire HBCU, all the HBCU tours. We worked with Reverend Wilson and Jason, and I forget the other young lady that passed recently, but we were active, and my daughter did it, and it was a time when, like, from that time, from when my husband died, that I had to literally start over, and I bumped into Push, and around 2015 is when I started getting back into the workspace, and a lot of what I'm doing is because of your dad and Push. I don't want to start crying, but
No, but you know what? I thank God. I thank God for His ministry, because that's what it's for. And you'll make me cry too, because I've had so many people come to me and say, your father, your mother, your father, the work. Even when my brother was in Congress, there were so many things that you all have done, and I thank you for that, because he's dedicated his life to. That's his ministry, and so.
But wait a minute. Talk about taking it full circle. I went to school with Jonathan, and I didn't know
At Whitney Young?
who Jonathan was.
At Whitney Young?
Jonathan and Barry Batson.
Get out of here. Wait a minute. And let me tell you what Barry Batson did to me. He and Jonathan played the nastiest joke on us when we were in high school. And Michelle Robinson, who became Mrs. Obama, was there. We were having a birthday party for her. And do you know, of course, we have the Purple House, hearing impaired, people struggling with learning. They played like Barry Batson was deaf. Oh my gosh. And we were like, we're sitting at the table, we're like, and Jonathan, I was like, I know Jonathan, you don't know how to sign, girl. We got halfway through our luncheon and then found out that Barry could hear. I could go upside his head right now. Get out of here. That because I was a senior when you were a freshman.
Right. And I actually transferred in there when
oh, then I missed you.
In my sophomore year. Right. So you missed me, but I knew Jonathan and Barry. Because we had a few classes together.
Oh,
I actually ended up helping with their studies. So funny. And I never really, at the time, when I was helping them, I didn't know who Jonathan was. And then I was talking to my mother one day, and my mother was in this some kind of elite travel club. And she's like, oh, yeah, we know Mr. and Mrs. Jackson. They traveled with us. So, things just really go full circle.
Absolutely.
It's just amazing. I really just wanted to share that about my daughter because that helped me a lot being a single parent.
Sure.
Putting a child in college. So, she graduated from Hampton University. So.
And my grandmother did, as did my aunt, Connie. My aunt Constance, but my grandmother came out of Hampton when she was 61. She always wanted to go to college, so she got a GED. Then she went to community college, and then she went to Hampton and came out at 61. And then she went and got a master's at 65. Bless her heart. So God bless you. Well, you know what? You've made my day.
Well, thank you. This is exciting.
Thank you.
We definitely, I think that another show for the 31st, but I'm going to work out something because people need to know when we have all of these events that we have.
I didn't know, but I'd love for you to start coming on to tell people not just about the events, but the programs. Let's talk, because people need to know that there's help out here. Okay. They need to know that there's help. Okay. All right. God bless you. But
everyone but Mr. Ellis.
Okay.
I went straight to voicemail. I left him a message to call back, and I'll keep reaching out to him
just keep.
we get him on here.
And he's Commissioner Ellis, so no worries. Just let me know when you get him. Okay.
Copy that.
All right, sweetie. Thank you. Thank you for a great show, and thank you, Mrs. Williams. Miss Athena, Whitney Young in the house.
Oh, she just dropped.
Okay, no worries. Whitney Young in the house. Hello. Public schools. Yes.
I also have that clip ready.
Okay, and then you know what?
If you still want to use it.
I would like to use it. Thank you, sweetie. And what I will do is, when are we going to come in with it?
We're going to what?
Come in with it after I do my live read.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
A couple seconds here.
All right. Coming in. Ooh.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
What a blessing. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. It's Thursday, May 27th, 2022. This is WCPT, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. And I want you to meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. The Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Jewel and Nicole and D-Ray and Joyce, if you can, go on over to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. In the meantime, you can stay at the Santita Jackson and Friends page. That's my official page. Everybody, please like and become my friend there, and like and subscribe on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Bedalia, for establishing that. Yeah. It's been great. Everybody, I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. Let's talk about Texas, and let's talk about these elections. There's a lot that's been going on. Of course, as they investigate this Texas massacre, we're finding out much more about it. As we continue to investigate the Buffalo massacre, we're finding out more about that. And now people are readying lawsuits. Who are they going to sue in Buffalo? What's going to happen? Why is it that the police took so long to enter the building? Onlookers in Uvalde, Texas, were saying, hey, you need to go inside. What's going on? What happened in those 40 minutes to an hour with Salvador Ramos? There are a lot of questions that a lot of people have. And we need to talk about that as we are beginning to grapple with the awfulness of this. When we're beginning to hear that these bodies could only be identified through DNA. Because these, not only was the gun that Mr. Ramos used designed to destroy, but the bullets. They tear your body up. They turn your flesh to mush. And if that's a lot for you to hear, well, guess what? It's a lot. So we need to know what's going on. And hats off to Beto O'Rourke for having enough, showing real leadership as he is running for governor of Texas and confronting the governor of Texas with all that he is not doing and confronting Ted Cruz. He said, all of this is on you. It's on you. So you tell me what you think, everybody. 773-763-9278, 773-763. WCPT in Chicago. We're going to have thunderstorms today. 72 degrees will be our high, though. In Minneapolis, St. Paul, 63 degrees. It will be cloudy, though. The Dow closed up 191 points yesterday. The NASDAQ closed up 170 points. The S&P 500 closed up 37 points. In the NBA, well, we're getting closer and closer to the championships, everybody. The Celtics lead in their series 3-2. And last night, they bested the Heat 93-80. The Mavs will be playing the Warriors tonight. The Warriors, of course, lead in their series 3-1. In the Stanley Cup playoffs in the NHL, the Blues bested the Avalanche 5-4. Well, that's right. And tonight the Rangers will be playing the Hurricane. They're tied up in their series. And Edmonton, well, they're having their way. Oilers versus the Flames will be playing tonight. So Edmonton is leading that series 3-1, everybody. Just in case you were wondering how much Ukraine is costing us every day. $100 million a day. Wow. In the meantime, families of the 19 students and 2 teachers of 21 killed in the shooting at this Texas elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, the Robb Elementary School, have begun to make funeral arrangements for their loved ones. New details from the attack are emerging that the 18-year-old shooter, identified as Salvador Ramos, remained inside the Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, for up to an hour after he entered the building. And others were wondering why the police were not entering the building. Let's talk about that, everybody. 773-763-9278, 9278, according to this CNN report. Russia is trying to, quote, blackmail, close quote, the international community with an offer to unblock Ukrainian ports if sanctions against it are lessened. Ukraine's foreign minister said yesterday. He warned that if Moscow does not lift its blockage of Ukrainian exports of crops, the entire agricultural cycle will be interrupted and could spur a multi-year food crisis. That's why we need to have peace negotiations, everybody, so we can get out of this mess. In the meantime, Henry Kissinger, no less. Henry Kissinger, who has quite the checkered history when it comes to making peace, everybody. He's warning of a deadline for Ukraine peace settlement. All of these establishment leaders have gathered in Davos, Switzerland, and he is one of those persons. And he says there's a small window of opportunity to wind down the armed conflict in Ukraine and find a peace settlement. In fact, he is urging Ukraine especially to do that. And he's told this gathering, and people in Davos have said, oh my goodness, what are you doing? But because indeed, U.S. Senator Joe Manchin, who is there, interestingly enough, at the World Economic Forum, why is he there? He said that peace is not an option. Okay, he said, quote, I am totally committed as one person to seeing Ukraine to the end with a win, not basically with some kind of treaty. I don't think that is where we are, where we should be. Wow. He said, I mean, basically moving Putin back to Russia and hopefully getting rid of Putin. No peace. Well, I don't know if that's going to work, everybody. So we're going to be talking about that more and more and more in the upcoming days. In the meantime, we've been talking about saving your homes. We do hope that you will meet the Oak Park Regional Housing Center and their representatives at 4550 Roosevelt Road at 12 o'clock today. Get on over there so you can save your homes. But in the meantime, we want you to also look to David Hochberg and his team, Team Hochberg. If you are purchasing a new home, if you need to refinance your existing home, if you need to secure a VA loan or a reverse mortgage, if you have poor credit, if you have no credit, if you're trying to establish credit, if you have high credit card debt that you need to tamp down or get rid of, call Team Hochberg. They are your trusted local lender. On January 1st, the 30-year fixed loan interest was in the low threes. Now they're in the high fives and climbing. And so now costs over $360 more a month to finance a $200,000 mortgage, and over $540 more a month to finance a $300,000 mortgage. And you know, that's kind of like the average house cost of housing today, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. There is no interest rate relief in sight. And that's why you need to work with a lender like Team Hochberg to work this out. Let them work with you so they can work with your lending institutions and bring your rates down, everybody. So please call them at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or visit them at 56david.com, 56david.com. What's going to happen when you call them? Well, this is what's going to happen. First of all, you're going to be able to get a free consultation. Let them know everything that is going on with you. And then they will outline a plan, and then you're off to the races. So call them at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or visit 56david.com, 56david.com, and let us get to financial freedom. Everybody, wow, what happened in Texas, in Uvalde, Texas? We're still kind of, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, trying to figure all of this out because it is so painful and so unsettling. Bryce Green, Attorney Darrell Jones. We have got to figure out what happened here. Dwight McKee. What is going on? Guns are now killing more youngsters in the United States than cars. The number one killer of our children now is gun violence, are the guns. Is it guns? Is it us? Or is it some combination of the two? Indeed, Beto O'Rourke, who is a Democratic nominee for governor of Texas, he will be running formally this fall. Well, he's running right now. He interrupted the sitting governor's press conference, and it became quite ugly. Not on his part, but on their part. First of all, they didn't want him there, but it's a public press conference. And he said, you know, this is on you until you choose to do something, and I quote him, it's on you. Then the Uvalde mayor, Don McLaughlin, called him a sick SOB, and he did not abbreviate, who needs to get his ASS out of here, and on and on and on. You know, Matt, let's play what we can. Wow. Wow. You can bring that down, Matt. Emotions have run high, everybody. Indeed, and this has become a global story. Le Monde, which is the premier newspaper in France, said that America is killing itself. That is the headline. As the Republican Party looks the other way, they say that we are exceptional, all right. And one thing, and one bloody thing, they said, mass shootings. Ouch. So let us get to it, everybody. The number one killer of our children in the United States, gun violence. Gun violence. Gun violence. The NRA is still going to be in Texas hosting their convention. The NRA, we keep blaming the lobbyists, but they really are the mouthpiece for the manufacturers. Let's look at who's really at fault here. And according to the FBI, 61 active shooter incidents have been reported in 2021. It's a 52% jump in 2020, since 2020. Well, let me go on and introduce this panel because we've got a lot to talk about today. Attorney C.K. Hoffler. It seems like we're talking about this every single day. Chair of Rainbow Push, immediate past president of the National Bar Association. Darrell Jones, chair of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Bryce Green, journalist from Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, and Dwight McKee, social scientist, National Action Network, one of the founding board members of Operation Push. Let me start with you, CK. Now, you are francophone. As a French speaker, you spent a lot of time in that part of the world. Le Monde has said, oh, yeah, America, you're exceptional at one thing for sure, mass shootings. Ouch.
Good morning, Santita. Yeah, we are losing by the day exceptional credibility internationally as relates to all of these shooting incidents. Every country in the world, every country has a military. Some countries are ruled by the military. But, and as we discussed, I think yesterday, Santita, we are the only country that is really developing almost a pandemic with mass shooting. Many countries have confronted gun control, all the issues that we're confronting here. Our neighbors to the north in Canada, they have what happens in the U.S. a lot of times spills over into Canada. They have similar issues, yet the difference is the way that the countries address gun violence. There's so many examples that we could use throughout the world that could help guide us through this awful, awful debate, because other countries have in the past experienced some level of gun violence, but we have taken it to another level. And it just appears to everybody in the world, and even to us here, that there's a lot of talk and no action. And in the meantime, children are being killed. When we hear the statistics that gun violence is responsible, is the number one reason or way that children die in this country. It used to be that automobile accidents would would take the lives of children, because so many automobile accidents were happening. And if you think about every day, there are hundreds of automobile accidents that take place in this country, but yet mass shooting is responsible for the death, the number one leading cause of death in this country of our children. So, yeah, internationally, we're the laughing stock. In France, you know, when it gets to, and there's another article in this the journal called the Canard Enchaîné, which is sort of a satirical journal that many French people read. It's been around for a very long time. And they really are making fun of the U.S. with our inability to address simple issues in the best interest of the citizens. They think that it's a Republican-led billion-trillion-dollar industry that is controlling the narrative and that is responsible ultimately for these deaths because gun control, there is no gun control. And so, you know, Santita, we are really, this is going to impact our standing internationally. It already has. And so at the same time, while we're trying to negotiate and be leaders on this war in the Ukraine and impose sanctions and be leaders of NATO and the like, we are losing credibility hand in fist because of gun violence, mass shooting, and the failure of gun control in this country.
Wow. Everybody, I want to hear from you at 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. Bryce Green, what do you make of the reporting and what we've been finding out about this shooting? There's just so much information that's coming at us. We're finding out that the number one killer of our kids is gun violence, of our youth and our children. Used to be car crashes, as CK pointed out correctly. No more. Now it is that. Now these active shooter incidents have jumped 52% from 2020 to 21. We have more guns than people in the United States. I mean, it's just on and on and on and on. What do you make of the reporting, and what do you make of this story?
Right. This really hits home for me because, you know, I'm a young guy, grew up in the shadow of all these mass shootings. Sandy Hook happened when I was a freshman in high school. And, you know, even then we were wondering, like, how could this happen? Why is this happening? And over the years, as these mass shootings sort of became normalized, it became a part of American culture that we just had to, that we were told that we have to accept. But I think that what people are missing is that this is symptomatic of deep issues in America. Yes, it has something majorly to do with the amount of guns in our society, with the gun culture, but it also has something to do with the decaying society that we live in, right? Like, these kids are growing up in a world where their future is taken away from them. And in that despair, they turn to nihilistic acts of violence, maybe to find some sort of meaning, maybe to act out whatever cultural impulses that they're feeling. But the fact is that this doesn't happen in a healthy society. And if we want to stop this, well, we need to fix what's broken in our society, something that this country seems incapable of doing. Over the last, since Sandy Hook, all of the issues that lead to this sort of despair have only gotten worse. You know, the opioid epidemic has gotten worse. You've seen deaths of despair go up. People are losing the ability to pay their rent. People are losing the ability to even hope for a better life than their parents. Now, in a society where it has the most guns per capita in the developed world, possibly almost in the entire world, well, that sort of despair is bound to manifest itself in these horrible, random acts of violence. And that's something that we are incapable of grappling with. You know, even if we started banning guns tomorrow, maybe it wouldn't be gun deaths that are killing people, but it would be drug overdoses. It would be other things that are harming our people. And what I want to see in the reporting is more people connecting this issue to the broader American decay and the inability of the political class to work with it. I mean, all of this has its roots in the corporate control of America. The reason that life is getting so bad for people all around this country is that corporations are sucking up more and more of our wealth and dominating more and more of our political system. The gun lobby, for example, pours millions of dollars into the political cycle, and they're able to capture the system in order to allow government regulations, in order to allow them to continue to flood the world and America with weapons. These are the same corporate forces that prevent Americans from addressing the high cost of living, addressing the high cost of health care, the high cost of housing, the high cost of everything. It's because our government is incapable of standing up to the corporations who are ruining this country. And when the country gets ruined, people turn to dramatic acts of violence. And that's only to be expected. And if we can't connect those issues to a broader decay of America, then we're doomed to continue to repeat it. No amount of thoughts and prayers, no amount of posturing about, quote unquote, common sense gun reform is going to stop the decay of our country. What that requires is a political movement aimed at recapturing our government from the corporations that have decided to impoverish it.
Can't wait to hear from you, Dwight McKee, and from you, Attorney Darrell Jones, as we talk about this, because there is a corporate line. If you listen to the corporate media, and that's what we have, and if you listen to just the messages that we're hearing generally, which are driven by the corporations, this is an individual problem. This is mental illness. First of all mental health professionals, psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, everyone knows that the mentally ill are not physically violent. Mentally ill people hurt themselves. They don't hurt other people. Sane, sober people who are angry hurt other people. So Governor Abbott you got to take that off the table. And the corporate media needs to stop pushing that lie, because it's a lie. It's a lie. That is not, and it unfairly defames and makes vulnerable a vulnerable population that is a mentally ill. They don't hurt people. The so-called sane people hurt people. And by focusing on individuals, we refuse, thank you, Bryce Green, that takes us away from looking at the sickness of the society. We're sick. And the French are calling us on it, and a lot of people are calling us on it. And guess what? Guess when you're seeing it? When you're at Davos. When you have these conversations with these world leaders, they will look at America's leadership and say to them to their face, you have got to be kidding me. That's what happened to us in the 60s. When they said, you can't talk about freedom and democracy and treat Black people this way. Do you know what helped to move the needle on civil rights? Putting the photographs of Black children being hosed and bitten by dogs and beaten by police on the cover of the Pravda, which was the primary media organ of the USSR at the time, the United Socialist Soviet Republic. It embarrassed America. So they had to make a move, because if your greatest foe is showing the world who you are, that's embarrassing. You gotta look at this, everybody. You gotta look at this. Gotta look at this. And let's talk about it on the Santita Jackson Show. I want to hear from you. 773-763-9278. Back in just a minute. Okay. All right, you all can speak amongst yourselves. You know me, I'm trying to do a couple of things. Okay.
I'm still getting voicemail on Commissioner Ellis, so I'm going to try again here in just a
Well,
couple
honey,
minutes. I'll let you know if we get him.
Don't worry. If you do get him, let me know. If not, it's okay. We are like great. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
We also have two callers, Ron in Rockford and Renee in Chicago.
Okay, fantastic. But I'm gonna go to Dwight and Attorney Jones first. I'll come to you first, Attorney Jones, and then to you, Dwight. Okay.
Alrighty.
All right. Okay. That's wow. CK, it's like trying to get to these elections, and Darrell and Bryce trying to get to these elections has been hard. Just given. Oh my goodness.
But you know what, Santita? I mean, when you think about it, the elections are really important because of all sides. But when children are dying of chills and people in Buffalo are still suffering and we're learning more information, it just seems like they're talking about the elections, the primaries, just being sort of like more of an academic exercise, although it's very important. The kind of legislation we have and how aggressive we are, and trying to put in place reforms. Let's break with that. That's just one measure of the direction.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. You're right. You are absolutely right. It's just so much of this policy. But you know, the policy, if people don't change, policy is meaningless. It's just like having a contract, you know? If you don't agree in principle, the contract is unenforceable, you know? It's just like, really. So, oh, wow. Mm, mm, So, but you know, you all can talk amongst yourselves while we are still on break. So, does anyone have any ideas about why the onlookers had to push the police to go into the school?
You know, I've been watching this all morning. I don't know how our country is getting any less. You know, all the news coverage.
I can't understand you, CK. You sound muffled.
Okay. There was a spokesperson from the sheriff's department, you know, that was talking about the law enforcement response. Because people are obviously complaining about that in Texas. And what he said was there was immediate response by a couple of officers who tried to penetrate the classroom, and they were met with with shooting from the shooter. So they were met with active, bullets, I guess.
Okay.
And so they tried to take it with them. And they were helping people jump, like they were students. 1 minute. And to jump out the window. And so there were multiple levels of responses. But I do understand the concerns and the complaints of parents who were sitting there when they could hear a gunshot and telling the officers, go in, help our children, and that they wanted to go in and help their children because there was almost an hour lag time between the time that they actually caught and killed the shooter and when the shots first started. So, 30 seconds. I don't have a timeline yet.
Okay.
I'm just listening to all sides of the story.
Okay. Well, hold on. Of course, my phone is ringing. That's lovely. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Uh-oh. Rodney Ellis. Commissioner, he'll call you right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Oh boy. Hey everybody, Thursday, May 27th, the Santita Jackson Show, just before the Memorial Day weekend. We're talking about Texas. And in fact, Matt, please reach out to Commissioner Rodney Ellis. He just called me on my home phone and on this phone. So he is reachable right now. I'm going to get thank you, sweetie. We're going to get some thoughts from, Attorney Darrell Jones, Transformative Justice Coalition, the chairman of that board, and Dwight McKee. But first, I want you to get to 4550 Roosevelt Road today if you want to save your home. If you're in foreclosure, if you're on the verge of foreclosure, if you've not been able to pay these housing bills because of COVID-19 and everybody took a hit, please go to 4550. 4550. It's a union hall, everybody. 4550 Roosevelt Road, starting at 12 o'clock. Just bring your ID. And they and the Oak Park Regional Housing Center will be able to help you. I have some great news from them. We just had Athena Williams, who is their executive director, on with us. They have access to the Illinois Homeowner Assistance Fund. They're offering up to $30,000 of free money to pay your past due mortgage, property tax payments, and other payment costs. $30,000 of free money to pay your past due mortgage, property tax payments, and other housing costs. So if you're behind on these payments due to COVID-19, go to IllinoisHousingHelp.org to find out if you're eligible, or go to 4550 Roosevelt Road today. They will be able to help you. Call their office at 773-887-5187. 773-887-5187. You got to hurry, everybody, because this program ends on May 31st. All right? So let's get right back to it. Boy, oh boy, Bryce Green and Attorney C.K. Hoffler said a whole lot about what we're looking at. Attorney Darrell Jones, before we get to, we're going to get to Dwight, and then we're going to get to Commissioner Rodney Ellis. Talk to me. What do you see as we continue to find out more and more about this tragedy? And as we're still grappling with, it hasn't been 2 weeks since Buffalo. Talk to us.
Yeah, Santita, it's just a very sad state, but it's also a state where, as both CK and Bryce Green have indicated, that we've got to take action. We cannot sit back and continue to let the same thing occur. I listened to Senator Ted Cruz, I listened to Governor Greg Abbott, both in Texas, that are at the site where this now has occurred, and both of them offered sympathy, both of them offered condolences, both of them offered prayers, but neither of them offered legislation. Neither of them offered the one thing that could really work to protect these kids and protect many of us that are in this society. That's what I'm concerned about. You can pray until you faint, as Kenny Lou Hamer said, right? But you got to get up and do something, and that's what we're waiting for them to do. We need the legislature to get up and do something. Finally act. One of the things following the 2018 shooting in Parkland, right, at Margie Stoneman High School in Florida, was that the students responded. They came to Washington in 2018 and did the March for Our Lives, and thousands of people came and joined them. There was a big push for a change in legislation. Well, guess what? They're coming back this June the 11th, and they're going to do March for Our Lives again and continue to push. And, one of the things has got to be that we as a society, we as United States citizens have got to demand that the elected officials take action. I heard very clearly when Bryce was saying that, that they're afraid to, our legislature, our government, whatever, is afraid to act against the corporate interests that are out there backing them. Well, absolutely correct. But we've got to force them into that position. You got to force them in the position of taking that stand. Otherwise, they won't. And we force them into those positions when we register, when we vote, when we show with the power of our fingers in the ballot box that we want representatives that are represent our interests. And that's where we are right now. We'll continue to pray for the families. We'll continue to pray for the souls of the kids. But we've got to get out there, get registered, and get representatives that are equaling our interests and protecting our lives. That's where I think we are right now, Santita.
Dwight, before I get to you, I promised Commissioner Rodney Ellis, Texas Harris County Commissioner Rodney Ellis, that I'd get him on and off because he, of course, everybody in the world is prevailing upon him, and other people who are similarly placed. There are not that many, and I'm so grateful. Oh well, he just called me, so just try and reach him. Try and reach him again. So, but I'm going to bring him up as soon, Dwight, as soon as I get him on. So do me a favor, Dwight, you give us your assessment, and pardon me if I have to interrupt you, but give us your assessment because you've been talking about the sickness in the society,
Well, this country owes its very existence to violence. The country was stolen from the natives with guns and swords. It would not be a country if people from other places would not have come and by force taken the land. Then you brought another people over here and forced them to labor for free and took away all their rights and turned them into slaves. And you enforced that with swords and guns. And so the basis, not just of the culture of the country, but the existence of the country is rooted in violence. And so you need a certain amount of violence to maintain that kind of control. What coming out of that violence is to justify what you did. You then glorified that violence and turned it into some fetish. And so cowboys and Indians, you make cowboys the heroes and Indians the villains and black the criminals and police the heroes, and the whole society is locked into resolution of any issue by violence. And so you only reap what you sow. The next level of that is to glorify that violence. Then your media is set around the glorification and the glorification of the violence. And so all your video games are games of violence. The music is music of violence. The images are always images of violence, and it's the first approach to conflict resolution. So what happens is anytime then, therefore, you have kids or people who are alienated or feel violated or who feel threatened, their first recourse is violence. And so in a country or society that is rooted in a gun culture, where you have more guns than you have people, then the first impulse of the persons is the program to go and get a gun and shoot people to resolve what they think is an issue. And they're so alienated and so despondent that it is, their way to pay back. And it makes America different than any other country in the world. It's not different than any other country in the world because other countries don't have sick people. Is that other countries are not founded by violence and the need to have guns to protect that which they've looted and the violence they've imposed on other people.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Looking to do is to really recognize and be sensitive to their peers who are feeling alienated and disconnected. This young kid had a stutter, felt alienated and disrespected. His whole attitude was, when I get to be 18, I'm going to pay all of these people back that have disrespected me. We have to teach our kids, he felt bullied. We have to teach our kids to recognize that in other kids early and to reach out for them and to create to envelop them in a community. When you talk about only a village can raise a child, the village also includes the young people in that village and the scenes in that village and that generational of villages. And so they have to recognize that this child is feeling alienated and despondent and reactionary. And how can we draw him into a community and give him a sense of value and love? The biggest threat to our kids is murder, killed by other kids, but the next is suicide. So the options are for these kids who feel alienated and despondent either to kill you or to kill themselves. And somehow we have to build community around them so they don't feel so alienated and despondent, or if they are, we're close enough to them to recognize that and to try to get them some help.
Mm. Let me go to some of these callers. Let me go to Renee. Renee, what's on your mind?
Good morning, and thanks for taking my call. I agree with everything that your wife just said, but I also think that part of the violence that's going on, part of the what's going on with the flooding of guns in our country and our communities has to do with profit and population control. They make a lot of money from these guns that are being sold, but they're also using violence to get rid of people that some politicians have characterized as being either undesirable or deplorable. So they just let us shoot each other. And I think that might even be a higher goal than the profit, because sometimes they leave unguarded trainloads of guns in communities and let gang members know, hey, come and get a gun. Or they even drop off guns in boxes in some communities. And that's not just urban myth, that's a reality. And concerning the boy that the wife was just talking about who shot up the school, that points to how we don't try to give children help that they need in these schools. We don't have enough social workers to address the needs of kids who are feeling like they're being bullied or, that they're going through any type of stress or emotional turmoil, we need to take care of not just the students in the schools, but actually we've closed so many mental health clinics in the country. We don't seem to care about all people in this country, whether they are the descendants of slaves, whether they're the descendants of the original people that were here, whether they are poor people who live all across this country. We just don't seem to give a darn. And I think the goal might be to just abort them after their lives. And that's sad, but that's what I think is going on. And thanks for taking my call.
Well, no, thank you. Thank you for calling. 773-763-9278. What do you think is going on, everybody? Because I think that you're right, Bryce. The corporate media, well, they're asking corporatized questions, or questions that argue back to their line of thinking. You know, they're the ones who are putting mental health at the center of this. They're the ones who are doing this. They're the ones who are making this about the individual. They're the ones who don't want to call the name of Salvador Ramos or Peyton Gendron because we don't want to talk about them because we don't want to glorify them. I'm like, no, you're protecting them. They're out here. You're protecting them. But I tell you what, if it's a black shooter, you're going to hear about him or her all day long. All day long. So, I mean, how do we make the connections? I mean, because we're inundated, Bryce Green, with corporate media. What would you advise us to do? Because I think some of us are cutting through the mark, but some of us are still just believing, what we hear just passively in the news.
Right. Well, I think the first thing that we need to do is start thinking about these things structurally rather than on an individual basis. Right? You can't look at these mass shootings as one event. You have to look at it as an epidemic. An epidemic, you can include these when we talk about deaths of despair. You can include this along the societal ills that come from a broken society, alongside alcoholism, alongside crime, alongside drug overdose. Because the only way to fix it, you can't just target an issue like this and expect it to get solved. You can't just solve this with something like background checks. Maybe you can solve it by taking away people's guns, but that's impossible in America. The only way to solve this is to make our society less alienating and make it more supportive of our people. But you won't hear any of that in the media. All you hear is about the political circus, about Republicans making statements about mental health and Democrats grandstanding about how we need to do things. You even have Joe Biden talking about how could this happen in this society? Like, dude, you're the president. Has he done anything to try and alleviate the burdens on the American people? So has he done anything to try and make a less alienating society? No, he wouldn't. Decided not to lift the minimum wage. He decided not to put any pressure on, Joe Manchin to abolish the filibuster so we could get anything done. He decided not to do that, and so the corporate media will focus on something that's not going anywhere. The corporate media will focus on things that, they'll focus on the political circus. And the political circus isn't the thing we need to be looking at right now. We need to be looking at how we can build a constituency in our own communities designed around pushing for serious change in this country. There was an excellent article in the American Prospect by David Dayen about what this system is that allows children to be murdered. And he talks about all these structural issues in our society, and no one in the corporate media is talking about these issues. No one's talking about the fact that the Senate itself, as an institution, is responsible for blocking any serious changes to this country. No one talks about that because the corporate media tacitly endorses this system. And when they endorse the system, they endorse the effects of the system. And so from everything from mass shootings to the war in Ukraine, the corporate media refuse to talk about the structural issues behind it. And then the American people will be left in the dark. They'll be bewildered and confused as to why these things are happening because they're not being told. The way to solve that is to promote independent media, and also to talk about these issues when he talks about the issues, to bring up these structural problems, to bring up the deep roots of the issue. I think that's the way forward.
Let me get a couple of these callers in, and if you all don't mind, if you could stay with me for a few minutes after we get off the air, because I just want to get some real closing thoughts from you. Anita from North Carolina. Anita?
Good morning.
Good morning, Anita. Very quickly, what's your comment?
Marjorie Green Taylor, I think that's her name. I wonder what she thinks about the suburban housewives. I mean, here's these people that have been supported for almost 500 years of slavery. They're still violent towards small children like they were in slavery. And they're saying it's mental illness. 500 years of mental illness. Somebody needs to be behind bars like a caged animal at this point. And I thank Steve Kerr for saying something about all of this too. And I forget the guy's name that they cursed him out at the Texas meeting when he said something about it, about the gun control. I can't think his name. It starts with a B.
Beto O'Rourke.
Marjorie Green Taylor's on my list.
Okay. All right. Anita has spoken. Chaparral, you've called back. Chaparral, what's on your mind? Okay. Matt, I think you said Chaparral is on the line. She's called back. Okay.
I'm here, Santita. What I was saying is that I've experienced this. I'm coming from the effects of gun violence and a child being murdered. I am a survivor. My son, Courtney Copeland, was killed back in 2016. And the thing is that what we have to realize as a society, that you can't just have a moment of caring for this type of situation. We have to adopt all of these victims of gun violence as our own. And I speak for all the mothers and all the parents that are out here who are grieving today because of the fact that, when this happened the other day, it took me back to day one. It took me back to me watching my son on a 19-inch screen on a slab and realizing that my son is not coming home. And so until society, everyone who has children, who doesn't have children, take this personal, this will continue to happen day after day after day. We're going to get this news cycle, Santita, and I tell people all the time, you have this sensationalism for a couple of days, and then it fades. We cannot afford to bury any more kids. We just can't. And so at some point, we have to say enough is enough. What is it going to take? We had the Sandy Hook 5-year-old murdered, slaughtered, the body destroyed. We have these second graders and fourth graders, bodies destroyed. Parents have to identify them with the DNA because their bodies are so distorted. What? Are we realizing the image? Are we looking at what the parents are actually seeing? Are we realizing the trauma, the lifelong trauma of getting up every day knowing that your child is gone? Until everyone takes it personal, until everybody feels what we feel, this will continue to happen, Santita.
Well, let me say this to you. No one that I think I hear you, but this is the thing. People have to, no one can feel what you feel because everybody doesn't have children. People need to become more empathetic, generally speaking, because when people are generally empathetic, Chaparral, about everything, about hunger, about poverty, about being denied opportunities, about being denied the opportunity to fully actualize yourself, people don't get it. That's just the way people are. We're basically selfish. At least that is how we've been socialized. Every society isn't this way, but we are. But people are just naturally kind of self-centered, though. We are. And I think until people, because everybody's not going to know your pain, but everybody should be sympathetic. Everyone should want you to never feel what you're feeling and should not want another mother and father as you and your husband. No one should ever want you to experience that. So I think that we just overall have to grow up in our politics and grow up as human beings so that we can, when you see someone who's homeless, put yourself in their position. Love your neighbor as yourself because you are your neighbor. When you see someone who's grieving, put yourself in their position. When you see someone who is hungry, someone who is jobless or suddenly jobless or homeless, put yourself in their position. That's what we have to do, Chaparral. Because the fact is, until we decide that we want to seek peace and not war, that we want to seek peace and love, none of this is going to change. Not just gun violence, but the violence, the verbal violence, all of it, Chaparral, everything, everything, everything. Because heaven knows, I don't want another person to experience what you and these parents and the husbands and the families and the teachers, what they're experiencing in Uvalde, Texas. I don't want that for anyone else. I don't want what people are dealing with in Buffalo. I don't want them to deal with that. We don't want that for anybody. And the only way that will stop is if we begin to love one another, not just feel each other's pain, but to begin to help push each other toward our possibilities. That's what we need to do. We have an opportunity to create a more perfect union and a whole society in which we love each other, in which we decide we're not going to, quote, bully each other or lynch each other on and on and on, or know that even when people make you feel bad or when they diminish you, you don't have the right to return fire. I'm sorry that Salvador Ramos was diminished, but that did not give him the right to go in and kill anybody. Shoot his grandmother in the face? What? No, no, and I don't know all that happened in his home, but we gotta do better than this. We gotta do right. Otherwise, nobody's gonna survive. Stay right here on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. I'm gonna get closing thoughts from everybody on the panel. And Chaparral, stick around for a hot second. Everybody, I love you. Matt, thank you for a great show. And let's just continue to look and pray and grow up and get right. Stay right here, everybody. We're gonna talk a little bit longer on the Santita Jackson Show, just for a few minutes. So I got a Zoom call. Love you, everybody. See you in the morning. Does anyone want to make a comment? Chaparral, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here, Santita.
Okay, hold on, sweetie. Does anyone, Dwight, CK, Bryce, Daryl, does anyone want to make a comment to what you heard from Chaparral, Anita, and everyone else? Oh, all.
I think everything's good. I think we really need to focus on the issues that of alienating us. Like when all those reports come out about how U.S. life expectancy is declining as a result of the decay of our society, we need to take that into serious account. Like this is a serious issue that's in the background of every other issue that we're fighting for. When we talk about healthcare, when we talk about war and peace, when we talk about standard of living, well, our standard of living is declining, and people understand, whether implicitly or explicitly, that their lives are not going to be better than their parents' lives, and that they're probably going to be dramatically worse. I mean, kids grow up with that. They would grow up with this knowledge. Like we have the internet now. Like my growing up was filled with messages about how much worse the world is getting. Something previous generations they didn't have. And so when you have that in a young population, when you have that mentality, this nihilism that's implicit in the way our society's going, then you can expect there to be violent outrage. You can expect there to be periodic outbursts of emotional depravity. And that's just a fact of a decaying society. This isn't a technocratic fix that we can just pull a switch and turn a knob and dial down the mass shootings. No, this is interconnected with every other issue. The same forces, the gun makers, the weapons manufacturers, the defense contractors, these are the same guys who are pushing for escalating war in Ukraine, pushing us closer to nuclear war. All of these issues connect, and all of these issues have to do with expanded corporate control over our country and expanded corporate ideology in our media.
CK, Daryl, Dwight. CK, are you still there?
I'm still here, Santita. I'm going to have to run shortly, but
Your closing
what
thought.
I want to say
Mhm.
really is, just, I mean, you're almost speechless. It's so ridiculous that this is continuing day in and day out. My system is shocked. And, watching all of us watching TV, hearing Chappelle, knowing people who have been through this, knowing people, new families who are going through this type of crisis because of gun violence. And so the question is, what do we do? What for many of us who have been thinking we're doing something, right now I'm feeling like, well, we really couldn't have been doing really much because this is continuing to happen at accelerated rate. It's getting worse. So I think there's so many levels of complexity to this problem, but I think part of it is soul searching for the soul of this country, because right now we are really losing credibility. Forget about the international community for a moment. We're losing credibility within our country.
Absolutely.
Where people are feeling hopeless and helpless. And it's the hopelessness and the helplessness that is part of the reason why we're seeing more of this. So it's a vicious cycle that we've got to break. Just like we break the cycle of alcohol dependence or drug dependence or domestic violence, we have to break this cycle because it is, I see a pandemic. People are saying epidemic. I think it's a pandemic because of the frequency, the regularity, and the impact on decimating communities and decimating the heart of this country.
CK, sending you much love. And thank you for that. Daryl, I want to get a closing thought from you before you go.
Thanks, Santita. And I certainly would underscore what CK has said with regards to what we need to do as a country. And one of my big things, though, Santita, is I always encourage people to get involved and try to make the change in the legislation that has permitted a lot of these assault rifles to continue to exist that really have no reason on our streets. And, again, wherever you are, on June the 11th, they're going to be doing these March for Our Lives, again, rallies throughout the country. The biggest one will be here in Washington, D.C. But we've got to just be a part of it. We got to stay involved. We've got to keep our hand on the wheel and push for the change that we're seeking, because we represent that change. And we need to be able to get representatives that are consistent with our views and what we think we need to make our country a safer place. So, my big thing is really encouraging everyone to not just sit on the sidewalks and watch it go by, but get into the streets and let's make this change happen, because, it's our country. And in order for us to make it safe, it's going to be on us, and it's going to be dependent upon us to put those representatives in place to make it safer for us. So that's really where I am on it, Santita. My heart continues to go out, not only for Chappelle, because, as CK was saying, and I just underscore, I think that when a parent loses their child, every time they hear the death of a child, it lifts up back into the front of their mind the rawness of the feeling of when they initially lost that child. So, my heart really just goes out to all of them, Absolutely. Thanks so much, Santita.
Yeah, and they're just and the numbers are piling up. When are we all going to grow up? When are we all going to grow up, everybody? Dwight, your closing thought?
Well, when you have low self-esteem in a society that's built on selfies, then you do have operated despair at levels that it's very hard for us to comprehend in our generation. Is that this deficit is spiritual. This mass murder is a problem, but also suicide is a problem. Also, opiate addiction. Or here is a whole group of young white kids that have everything materialistically going for them. They nice houses, money, nice cars, education, and all of them are ODing on drugs and opioids because there's a spiritual deficit. there's a spiritual despair because people feel unloved and uncared for and without purpose, without hope. And so the only way really to deal with spiritual deficit is spiritually. That's why love is so powerful. That's why caring is so powerful. That's why sensitivity is so powerful, is that we have to teach our kids how to recognize that people are human with needs. And if those needs are not being dealt with, that they will react in despair and either harm themselves or harm somebody else. And so we have to teach our kids how to recognize this in the other people and reach out for them. A lot of these kids feel like they're being bullied. Nobody cares. This kid had a stutter, so he felt like he was ridiculed. A lot of these kids feel like they're loved by their parents. A lot of these kids just feel like they don't belong. They don't have friends. They're just out here by themselves. And so because they're suffering, they want other people to suffer.
Absolutely.
I think that we have to understand that a lot of this is guns, yes, but it's also the spiritual decay that leads us to taking guns and killing other people with them, or taking drugs and killing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday in Chicago, and I close on this, a guy here who was homeless, he went and shot somebody, put him on fire. Burned it. But just sitting down. I mean, it's so God is a problem, but the use of violence really grows out of a sense of despair in this vein and a lack of values we have for ourselves and for other people.
That's right. That's right. Because we'll use guns. We use it. We use anything by any means that we can to inflict pain upon each other, and project the pain that we feel within ourselves on each other. That is what we're doing. That is what we're doing. So I'm gonna tell you, until people decide to take the leap to really be fully human and just to empathize with people, just to walk a mile in someone else's shoes, whatever it is, Chaparral, whatever pain you're feeling. Because a lot of people have a lot of profound pain, and they're not getting any love. They're getting no love, and that is the most powerful thing in the universe is love. So powerful. And what the world needs now is love, sweet love. That's the only thing that there's just too little of. Too little of it. So love you, Chaparral, sending you much, 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 much love. Dwight, Bryce, Daryl, CK, Athena Williams, thank you for showing us how we can not be homeless today. Dr. Shanina Knighton, Pastor Darius Brooks, everybody, Grace Central Church in Westchester. If you need to get something to eat, they're feeding people. So, and if you need, go to 4550 Roosevelt Road today at 12 o'clock so that you can stay in your home. I love you, everybody. See you tomorrow.